This next story just has Patrick written all over it. But he's in that pub, so by now he must have had a few pints, perhaps. And he's going to tell us the story of a mysterious streak and some satellites that measured it, and more pretty streaks, because aren't they beautiful? So, Patrick, can you please tell us what is going on?
Right, hello everyone. I'm sorry I can't be with you in this all space, kind of sad. But do I have a story for you? So it all revolves around this image, which we'll show you. This is an image of what appears to be an aurora, and apparently it went viral over the internet. People called this Steve, and so that's when it went viral. So this picture was taken back in autumn of 2016. The photographer, who was from British Columbia, took this picture, posted it on his site, and then just called it a proton arc. Well, that's usually what we call these features, auroral features, proton arcs. However, it was on his site for a few months, and later on, as we fast forward a few months, a professor from the University of Calgary by the name of Eric Donovan had reached out to a group of Aurora observers called the Alberta Aurora Chasers on Facebook using social media. And after a conference, he decided to meet with the group in a pub, of all places. The group said, "Oh yeah, this is a really fantastic picture. It's a proton arc." Well, the professor looked at it and said, "Well, the coloration is kind of wrong, and proton arcs aren't really visible to the naked eye. So this really can't be a proton arc. So what could this be then?" Well, one of the groups had just watched a movie called Over the Hedge. And in that movie, the characters referred to something that they were unfamiliar with. And they said, "Well, what should we call this? Let's call it Steve." And that's how the name became associated with this particular feature. Professor was extremely interested in this image, and he happened to have access to data from the European Space Agency Swarm satellite, which is a fleet of 3 satellites that have instruments on board that can measure the electric and magnetic fields of the Earth. To his astonishment, he found that one of the satellites actually flew into the gas ribbon and gave some really fantastic data. As it entered into the ribbon of light called Steve, it measured an inside temperature of 5,400 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than the outside air. And also, as it passed through 15.5 miles of that ribbon, so that was actually the cross-sectional diameter where the satellite crossed through. And it also found that the gas that was flowing through that ribbon was flowing at an astonishing speed of 13,000 miles per hour. And that's the data that we have on this feature called Steve. And we also have many pictures of Steve that people have taken and just mistakenly called them proton arcs. And we can show you a few of those here. So, really great story, and we look forward to hearing more about Steve.
So
in a
Patrick,
pub of all places.
Oh, in a pub of all places. There he is.
In a pub.
So, so Patrick, do they know what it is? He's thinking about it.
Can you hear us?
Apparently these features, they form in the high latitudes, but they usually form in latitudes that are about 10 to 20 degrees closer to the equator than normal aurora. It's still a mystery, and some of these features are seen to go from east to west in an arc, as opposed to, which is kind of perpendicular to aurora, which basically start from the horizon and then shoot straight up. We don't really know much more about that, and those are the characteristics.
I have a question for him. Can
Yeah,
we bring him
what's your
back?
question?
It's Patrick. Are they all pink like that?
Is it always the same color? Well, it seems to always be a purplish, pinkish color. And so it's easy to recognize Steve. just because by its color, which is very distinct compared to your greens, your bright reds, and even blues from your regular aurora.
So I guess my last question for you, Patrick, is are they going to still call it Steve?
It's still Steve until someone comes up with some big acronym that we can't pronounce. But I think Steve's a really great name.
Okay, well, thanks, Patrick. Have a few more. For those of you who've never been here before, that's our dear Patrick, and we miss him. So he is very sorry that he couldn't make it here tonight.